Every footballer wants to be the best, but there is only one who wakes up every single morning genuinely terrified that he isn't. That terror has won him 5 Ballon d'Or awards. That terror has made him one of the most famous humans on the planet. And that terror started in a tiny house on an island that most people can't find on a map. His name doesn't need an introduction, but his story, the real story, the one behind the celebrations, behind the statistics, behind the obsession, that story most people have never heard. Because we talk about Cristiano Ronaldo the athlete, the machine, the brand, the GOAT debate. But we almost never talk about Cristiano Ronaldo the child, the boy who cried himself to sleep in an empty dormitory at 12 years old, the boy who watched his father disappear into a bottle night after night after night, the boy who made a decision so early in life, a decision so total, so permanent, that it would shape every single thing he would ever become. I will be so good that no one can ever ignore me again. Stay with me, because what you're about to understand about Ronaldo is actually something you're about to understand about yourself. Funchal, Madeira, 1990, a small volcanic island off the coast of Portugal, not the luxury resorts tourists visit today. The Funchal that Cristiano grew up in was poor in the specific way that leaves marks on children that never fully disappear. His family, 4 children, 1 room. His mother, Dolores, working multiple jobs to keep the lights on. His father, José Diniz, a kind man. By all accounts, a loving man, a man who was losing a war against alcoholism that no one in the family knew how to stop. Psychologists who study children raised in homes with addicted parents describe a very specific experience. The child never knows which version of the parent is coming through the door, the loving one, or the absent one, or the one who isn't really there even when he's sitting right in front of you. So the child develops a hypervigilance, a constant scanning of the environment that becomes, over years, completely automatic. Young Cristiano learned to read rooms before he learned to read books. He learned that love was inconsistent, that presence didn't mean safety, that the people you needed most could disappear while still standing right in front of you. And then, at 12 years old, he was sent away, not as punishment, as opportunity. Sporting CP in Lisbon, one of the greatest football academies in Portugal, had seen something in this skinny, aggressive kid from the island. They wanted him. His family, scraping together everything they had, said yes. And Cristiano Ronaldo packed a bag, got on a plane, and left everyone he had ever loved to chase something he didn't even fully understand yet. He was 12. In the academy dormitory, surrounded by older boys who mocked his island accent, who called him a peasant, who heard him cry at night and made it worse. He would call his mother on the phone. She would tell him to stay. He would cry, hang up, and go back to training. Every single day. This is the moment, right here, that most biographies skip over too quickly, because this is where the psychology of Cristiano Ronaldo was actually formed. Not on the pitch, in that dormitory, alone, at 12 years old. Psychologists have a term for what happens to children who experience consistent emotional unavailability from parents, from environments, from the people who are supposed to provide safety. They call it insecure attachment. And one of the most common responses to insecure attachment is what researchers call hypercompetence. The child decides, consciously or not, if I cannot control whether I am loved, I will control everything else. For some children, this becomes academic obsession. For others, control over their appearance, their environment, their relationships. For Cristiano Ronaldo, it became football. Not just playing football, mastering football, staying after every training session when everyone else went home, practicing free kicks until the groundskeeper had to physically ask him to leave, studying his own footage for hours, analyzing every weakness, every imperfect touch, every failed dribble, every shot that went wide, not like someone who loved the game, like someone who needed the game to survive. Because here is the psychology that nobody talks about. When a child grows up feeling fundamentally unseen, achievement becomes a language. If I cannot make you love me by being me, I will make you impossible to ignore by being extraordinary. Every goal Ronaldo has ever scored, every record he has ever broken, every time he has torn off his shirt and screamed at the sky, there's a 12-year-old boy in a dormitory in Lisbon who is watching. And for one moment, just one, he feels like maybe it was worth it. At 16, already one of the most promising young players at Sporting CP, Cristiano Ronaldo's heart started beating too fast. Not metaphorically, literally. A condition called racing heart syndrome, tachycardia. That required surgery. That could have ended everything. Think about what that moment does to a boy who has already lost his father to illness, who has already left home, who has already been mocked, isolated, and had to rebuild himself from scratch, who has placed every hope, every identity, every reason for being into this one thing. football. And now, a doctor is telling him there might be a problem with your heart. He had the surgery, he recovered, he came back, and if anything, he trained harder, because this is what trauma does when it is channeled into ambition. Every obstacle becomes more fuel. Every person who doubted him, more fuel. Every injury, every criticism, every journalist who said he was selfish, he was arrogant, he was not as good as Messi, more fuel, more fuel, more fuel, more fuel. The wound became the engine. Stop for a second, because I want you to notice something. Everything we have described so far, the hypervigilance, the hypercompetence, the obsession with perfection, the need to be impossible to ignore. From the outside, these look like the traits of a champion, and they are. But from the inside, they are the survival strategies of a child who never felt safe enough to simply be. There is a profound difference between those two things, and Ronaldo has lived inside that difference his entire life. In 2008, at 23 years old, Cristiano Ronaldo gave an interview that journalists mostly ignored. He was asked about his father, Jose Diniz Aveiro, who had spent years struggling with alcoholism and kidney disease, was still alive then, barely. Ronaldo said quietly, "I never had a real conversation with my father. I wish I had known him better. I wish he had known me." 2 years later, his father died. Without that conversation ever happening, Ronaldo has spoken about this grief in very few interviews. When he does, something changes in his face. The armor, the one he has spent 30 years building, slips just for a moment, and you see the boy from Madeira. Psychologists call this unresolved grief. The mourning not just of a person, but of a relationship that never got to become what it should have been. The grief for the father who was there, but wasn't really there. And here's what is remarkable. Ronaldo named his firstborn son Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. Same name, his name. Not out of ego, though the world assumed ego, but because, on some level that perhaps even he doesn't fully understand, he was trying to give his son something his father never gave him. I see you. I name you after me because you are the continuation of something I am still trying to heal. The obsession with his body, the famously low body fat, the ice baths, the sleep tracking, the diet so precise it has been studied. This is not just athletic discipline. This is control. When the world around you is unpredictable, when love is inconsistent, when fathers disappear and hearts malfunction, the body becomes the one thing you can fully command. This, I can control. This will not betray me. We cannot talk about the psychology of Ronaldo without talking about Messi. For 2 decades, the greatest rivalry in football history has played out on pitches around the world. But the rivalry that most matters was never between two footballers. It was inside one man's head. Messi is everything Ronaldo is not. Quiet, where Ronaldo is loud. Effortless, where Ronaldo is relentless. Loved without needing to demand it, where Ronaldo has spent his life earning love through performance. And psychologists who study high-performance rivalry describe something fascinating. The rival is almost always not the person you compete against. The rival is the mirror that shows you the version of yourself you most fear you'll never become. Messi represents, for Ronaldo, the ease that Ronaldo has never had. The boy from Rosario who just seemed to be great, while Ronaldo had to build great, piece by piece, in a dormitory, alone, at 12 years old. This is why Ronaldo needs the Ballon d'Or in a way Messi simply doesn't. Messi already feels like enough. Ronaldo is still, after everything, trying to feel like enough. So what do we do with all of this? Because this is not a sad story. This is one of the most important psychological stories of our generation. Because Cristiano Ronaldo, without knowing it, without therapy, without language for what he was doing, took every wound, every absence, every mockery, every lonely night, every moment of being unseen, and he transmuted them into something the world had never seen before. Not because the wounds stopped hurting, but because he refused to let them be the end of the story. He became the father his son needed, showing up to every game, never missing a moment, because he knew in his body what it felt like when a father wasn't there. He became the teammate who stayed after training, not to show off, but because the alternative was stillness. And stillness means feeling, and feeling means going back to that dormitory. He became, through sheer psychological force of will, a man who made the world impossible to ignore him, starting with that boy in Madeira who first made that decision. I will be so good that no one can ever make me feel invisible again. Here is what Ronaldo's psychology actually teaches us. Our wounds do not define us, but they do, whether we choose it or not, become our fuel. The question is never, did something hard happen to me? The question is, what am I going to do with what happened? Ronaldo chose, unconsciously, brilliantly, to channel everything, every painful thing, every absent moment, every doubt, every critic, into a body of work that will outlast all of us. You may not be chasing Ballon d'Or awards, but you have wounds. You have moments that shaped you in ways you're still discovering. You have a version of that dormitory, a place where you felt alone, where you made decisions that are still running your life. The question Ronaldo's story asks you is whether those decisions are still the right ones for where you are now, or whether, like Ronaldo on that final whistle, it might be time to celebrate, not because you've arrived, but because you're still here, still going. still refusing to be invisible. That is the psychology of Cristiano Ronaldo. Not the goals, not the records, not the seu. A boy from Madeira who turned his deepest wounds into the world's greatest football career, and who is still, at 39, trying to feel like enough. If this video changed the way you see Ronaldo, or the way you see yourself, I need you to do one thing. Drop a comment below, just one word, the word that describes what this story made you feel. One word, that's it. Because every comment tells YouTube that this story matters, that these stories deserve to be heard, and the more people hear them, the more legends we can explore together. Next week, we go inside the mind of a man who was told at 13 that he would never be a professional footballer, who was released from the only club he ever loved, who went on to become, arguably, the greatest of all time. You already know who I'm talking about. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And until next time, take care of yourselves. And remember, every legend started as someone who simply refused to quit.